Hi, I'm Darnell with Wayland Recipes, and this is my review of the Cuisinart CookFresh Digital Glass Steamer. And so, basically what it comes with is this, basically the pot sits in this big base unit. There is a water reservoir in the back. It's got a lid here, and also it comes with this insert that is reversible depending on which side you want to use it on. And I'll show you it all close up in a moment so you get a better view of things. It also comes with a little registration paper and a little manual, so it's not a lot of paperwork is there, but it does have a cooking guide that gives you details on how long to steam different types of foods. This will be pretty helpful to you in your cooking. So now let me show you the power plug. It's basically got a pretty nice length cord. It's a 2-prong polarized plug, and this cooker is 1800 watts. That's about the max you can get for a countertop appliance, so you definitely do not want anything on the same circuit with this when you're plugged in and using it. And this steamer comes with 8 cooking functions. And if you're wondering about temperature ranges, this steamer doesn't have temperature ranges. Basically it's steaming or it's not, and basically you can adjust the time, and you can adjust the time between 1 to 60 minutes. And they say that it starts producing steam in just 30 seconds. Now the dimensions of this cooker are 13.74 inches in length by 13.23 inches in width by 9.37 inches in height. And they say that it has a 5-liter capacity, that's about 5.2 quarts. And it has a 1-liter water reservoir, and 1 liter is about 4 1/4 cups. And they give a caution. They say that before using the steamer, make sure it's 2 to 4 inches away from the wall or from any items on the countertop. And they also mention do not use on heat sensitive surfaces and do not use under cabinets. One other caution that they offer is during use, never touch the base steamer pot or lid, since they get very hot. So they're letting you know up front everything's going to be pretty hot. And they recommend that you use either distilled water or cold tap water. Personally, I'll stick with distilled water because among other issues with tap water is probably going to more quickly cause residue buildup on the steamer. They mention that meat, poultry, and seafood should be fully thawed before steaming, but keep in mind that this has a defrost option, so you can defrost it before you steam it. They mention to never add seasonings, broth, or herbs to the water reservoir. Basically, no liquid other than water should be going into the water reservoir is what they say. And they also mention if you steam food that's in like a container, like maybe a ramekin or maybe in some other type of small container that you put in here, they say that you should cover it so that condensation doesn't build up inside of that container. And they recommend using foil for that cover. And basically, if you're going to use or try and use plastic wrap, that's going to get melted up in the thing, so you can't use that. You're going to try and use parchment paper, that's going to basically get all soggy and melt too. So they recommend using foil, or if you don't like foil, then it's probably just best that you not use any additional containers in here. Now I'm going to go deeper into this review, and things will get pretty deep. So if it gets to a point that's not to your liking, there is the chapters feature. There's also timestamps in the video description to jump to the portion of the video of your choosing. Also here on the channel, there are well over 900 cooking related videos covering well over 100 different types of countertop cookers. So there's plenty here for you to enjoy. Alright, so now I'm giving you a closer up view of things so you have a good look at it, and I'm going to kind of show you the sides of it as well. So you see that side, and the other side is exactly the same for the steamer. And then around back, you've got a lot going on around back that I'll have to explain. Alright, so first let me talk to you about the pot here. The pot is all glass on the bottom. It's totally glass. And they say that it can be used as a serving dish as well as being used here on the steamer. The lid, you see the lid here, and it's got 2 vent holes there in the handle. This is all stainless steel. The rim around it and all stainless steel. So you got glass and stainless steel. Now inside here is the rack that's reversible. So like if you have veggies and stuff you want to hold in, you can use this side to hold it in, or if you got like just some meat or something that you want to put in, you can just put it on this side here. And this is stainless steel, so you've got all glass and stainless steel, which is awesome. Alright, so now showing you around the back here. Here they have like a little QR code, and you can use that to get a more complete manual than the one that comes in the box, and also warranty information. And here I want to show you also on the back here with the lid, it's got this, you know, attachment to kind of carry the steam into the pot here, which is pretty cool. The steam is sent through the water chamber here up through over the top on the food. So that's how this works. And here in the water chamber, you see it. Now the water chamber is plastic, but you know you're not getting any of your food in there, and it's going to be steaming out. So that's your water chamber. I mean, the water chamber isn't going to be getting hot. This is going to be getting hot, and it's going to be steaming food, and you know it's getting heat from the base here. So that's how things are going to be getting really hot. It's going to be steaming through this thing here, which is also plastic. So down here is basically like when you fill it with water, the water goes down into this thing here, and then it kind of comes up and shoots over. So that's how it basically works. Also, when you want to like fill up the water chamber, of course you take this off, and you, after you get that open, you fill the water chamber up there, and then you stick it in here. And when you're done using it, like if you want to store it or something, you can take this little connection here and you can unscrew this. So I'm going to unscrew mine and spin it out. And after you spin it out, that's like your drain to drain it out. If you're going to store it or something, you want to drain all the water out of this part where the water first goes into. And if the water chamber runs out of water, it will basically beep and give you an indicator to let you know that you need to add water. Now I'm going to do some measurements. So I'm going to try this here. And I guess maybe I'll do it over the top, because it seems like the handles stick out a little more than the base. So the handle edge to edge is looking like maybe about 15.5 inches edge to edge there. Let's see the height. If I put it, well, I'll put it here. And it looks like the handle top is probably the highest point. So I'm seeing about 9.5. Well, it's about between 9.5 and 10 is what I'm seeing. Your vantage point might not tell you as well of a measurement than I can see here close up, but try and help you see as best as I can. Let's see, front to back here, we're looking at about 13.5 front to back there. So let's also measure inside. Get things moved around here. I'm going to measure around the pot some. I'm not going to try and pick it up. It's pretty, you know, it's a weighty glass pot. But looking at it here, we see we're about 13.5 there. And this way, just turning things around, we are about 9 that way. And if I do things, let's say diagonally, let's see what we get there. Inside, we get about 14 inches doing things diagonally through the full depth of the pot. When we do the full depth, we see it's roughly about 3.5 inches in full depth. When you put the rack in there with the sides that are up to hold things, then you get about 2.5 inches, because you go into this kind of line there where the lid comes on. When you flip it around the other way, you get a little less. Oops. So you get about, roughly about 2 inches there. So between 2 and 2.5 inches or so is what you get when the rack's in. Alright, so now we've got the Cuisinart steamer next to the Ninja Combi. And the Ninja Combi has a full review in several cook videos here on the channel. Ninja Combi can steam, it can saute, it can air fry, it can bake, it can do it all. Does it all. But basically I want to just show you them side by side to get a look at them. Each of them come with a respective rack. This is the Ninja Combi's rack, this is the Cuisinart rack. And you see basically in size the Ninja Combi rack, you know, is a little bigger this way, but the Cuisinart rack is longer that way. Now, I also want to show you the pot for the Ninja Combi. And mine is, you know, a bit used. And let's see, with the pot of the Ninja Combi on the pot for the Cuisinart, well, it can't fit right in there. In height, I think the Cuisinart's pot is taller, and even though it can't fit in there, but I think overall the Cuisinart pot is just bigger as far as this area goes. But with the Combi, when it's cooking, you have like all this higher area. You don't have the lid covering things, so you have a lot more space up there to work with. But that just kind of gives you a general look at them side by side. Alright, so now I'm going to do an initial plug-in here. You see when we plug in, things light up, and then there's like a little faint power button here. So I turn that on, and then this is the general display once things are turned on. Okay, so now I'm giving you a good look at the display closer up, and it does some beeping when it's waiting for me to hit a function. So we're going to talk through some of the functions. Basically, there are steam presets here that you see on this side, and those presets basically just take you to a recommended time, but you'll need to find the perfect time for your cooks as you use the steamer over time. I'm just going to hit the poultry button just for the sake of stopping it from beeping or making that beeping noise some, but you see it defaulted to 30. If I click on fish, it defaults to 5. You know, maybe you'll need 5, maybe you won't. Over time you'll figure it out. For veggies, it's basically 15 minutes. For grains, because you can cook, you know, like things, rice and other types of things inside the pot without this rack, it recommends 25. For fish, it recommends 20. For defrost, it recommends 15. For warm, it doesn't give you anything for warm. You can set a time with the up-down arrows for warm, or if you just hit start with it like this, it'll start counting up to like an hour. And then we've got the custom function. With the custom function, you could basically set your own time using the up-down arrows, or if you just click start with that, then it's going to just start counting up to an hour on the custom function. Now you see it says clean right there on the display. That will light up when you need to do what they call descaling. When the tubing starts to get like buildups of calcium from the water, as it notices the buildup, it'll give you the clean indicator. And they say that you should do that, it'll maybe have you do that after some months of use. They say it'll come up after some months. Also, there's the add water indicator that'll light up when it needs water added, and it'll also do some beeping on you. And the decal button is what you use when it says to clean, to decalcify things. I'll detail how that works later when talking about cleaning in more detail. And then you can do a delay start. So like you could set like poultry, and then you could say like delay to start. Well, actually it's not going to delay to start that way. So let me turn it off, turn it on. So let's say I do a delay start. That's like 8 hours to delay to start. And then I guess maybe you can, on top of that, say I'm going to do poultry. And you could set your time for your poultry. So you got a delayed start, and you're going to do poultry. And then if you hit start, it's going to, you know, do a delayed start and then start cooking your poultry. But you probably don't want to leave poultry sitting out for 8 hours. But that's just for an example. And there's the start stop icon here that, you know, you hit to start or pause. a cook when you're done. I don't know a way to stop the beeping, so the beeping is kind of a constant thing that goes on with it. I do want to point out that they caution to always pause with the stop pause button to stop the steam flow before you open up and check food if you ever want to check food during a cook. And they say to start again after you've hit the pause button. You need to hit the function again and then hit the start pause button to get things going again is how you do it. And they say if you want to stop a cook early, then you just want to hit the stop or start pause button and just leave it there, and I guess it'll turn itself off in time. Or you can just, power button and take care of it that way. But if you pause it and just leave it setting, I suppose it may start beeping on you or something. It seems to beep every now and again, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does if you just hit pause and left it for a while. Now if you want to change time in the middle of a cook, they say that you are supposed to hit stop pause, then change the time, and then hit it again to get going again. Alright, so I've just got the water chamber filled up, and I do want to say, in case anyone's wondering, I think you're supposed to just fill only the water chamber and then put it in. I don't think you're supposed to try filling up the black thing underneath and the water chamber too manually. I don't think it was meant to be done like that. I think you're only supposed to fill the water chamber manually and then throw it in there, and then it's going to start putting some of its water down into the black reservoir underneath it. But now we're going to do a temperature test. So I've got an oven thermometer here that, Lord willing, will be able to not get broken in the steamer, but we'll see what happens. So we've got it on in there now. So I'm going to turn it on, and let's see, I'll just stick with that poultry setting there, 30 minutes, and just go ahead and hit start and just let it run for a bit. Alright, so it's been going for about 10 minutes. It's super quiet. Now the sound decibel check is showing in the low 30s. I think it's probably even quieter than that. I mean, you can hear when this thing's moving water, like the next bit of water is going into the chamber. It's so quiet. You can hear that bubble moving. That's how quiet this is. You're not going to hear this in the next room. I don't think you're going to hear this, hardly in the room that you're in. Really, when it comes to it being in the 30s, that's about the ambient noise of the room itself. It reads about 30 when I hold this anywhere pretty much in the room in the 30s. So it's not giving off any sound really at all. Now I'm going to do some feeling around, and feeling down here on the base. Everything's cool down here as far as what I can feel right here. I'm not feeling any heat here. Here, I'm not going to try touching anything because they've warned that it's hot, and it does feel hot. Over here, I'm feeling like, the steam vents, I'm feeling the steam come out, so feeling hot steam there. I mean, of course, the water chamber in the back is cool, but all this seems to have some heat, as they say. I can kind of tell that it's a little hot there. Well, real hot there. Alright, so I've got a thermal imaging camera here. Glass and reflective surfaces can, maybe throw it off a little bit, but still we'll get a good general idea of how things are looking for temp. And it's showing like that surface is like in the 200s. So, you don't want to put your hand there. And it shows, the base underneath the control panel's cool. But even over the top, things are hot. And of course around the sides. As they say, everything that's glass is pretty hot. It does seem like this area right here, yeah, I guess this area right here is pretty cool to the touch. So that's pretty nice that you can touch right here. It's getting hot in there to really heat up that pot. So just giving you a quick look around the other side. So just gives you a thermal perspective of things. And like I said, the water chamber area back there is cool. It looks like even this little part up here is hot. I don't want to touch it too much, but yeah, it looks like all this stuff up top is hot. Now I'm going to test the pause button, so I'm going to pause things. And now that I've got it paused, I'm supposed to lift the handle and kind of hold it away from you so the steam doesn't get on you. And you're supposed to hold it so that the water goes kind of down into the pot, which I did not do very well. I'm going to restart it again. Well, actually I turned it off by accident. But the temperature, well, we see it was like not very hot at all. Let me put it back in. I'm going to try and get it going again. See if I didn't get too accurate of a read because I had it out for a bit. So we hit poultry again and hit start one more time. Sorry about that. But, you know, it could be that my temperature gauge has been damaged from the heat. Lord willing, that's not the case. But I'm going to let it go for a little longer just to see if I can get a more accurate read. Alright, so let's try and take it out one more time. I got to pause it first though. Always remember to hit that pause first. Make sure the time stops and that it's not pulling water through. And it looks like it's like barely boiling. I mean, it looks like it's barely boiling as far as temperature. And that handle gets kind of hot. The handle, you know, just like the lid, the handle gets kind of hot. So that just kind of gives you an idea for temperature. It seems like it doesn't get very hot in there. It's just kind of steaming. And, you know, you got the hot water that's getting hot. And I guess that's how it does its thing. Alright, so I want to check making changes on the fly, see how that goes in actual use. So turning it on, hitting poultry, hitting start, and you see or I'm hoping you can see that the lights to click up and down are not lit up. So I can't do like changes on the fly directly. I have to, as I said, hit this start pause button, and then it lights up, and it's on like 29:45, and I can go up, and it goes up to the whole minute. And then let's see if I can I can't just start from there, just hitting it again. I have to hit the poultry again, which is still on the setting that I put, and then hit the start pause again, and I can start cooking again. So you have to remember that process when you want to make changes on the fly. And just to make clear, the steamer has no memory, so it's not going to remember your last cook, and so you'll always have to use the presets or manually get to the time that you prefer. Alright, so things are still pretty warm in there, but I'm going to go ahead and do a test steaming some broccoli now. And this is broccoli out of the fridge. It's about a 2-pound bag. They give instructions for 1 pound, but I'm going to try and see if I can fit 2 in there on a layer, and we'll see how that goes. Or, you know, maybe it'll be stacked a little bit, but we'll see if I can get it all in. Alright, so I've probably overfilled the thing, but I'm going for it anyway. And we'll see what happens. They say in the manual, a pound of broccoli is supposed to be cooked for 8 to 10 minutes. So we'll see what happens with about 2 pounds overloaded. What happens. I'm going to get things turned on and hit the vegetable button, which gives me 15 minutes. And I think I'm going to bring that down to 10 to be safe. And we'll do that, and we'll hit start there, and we'll just see what happens. Alright, so time's up. You know, overloading it how I did, you know, I could have impeded the flow of the steam a little bit, but I think it did get through there anyway. And it looks like our broccoli is pretty decently steamed. Of course, I could steam it longer if I wanted it mushier, but it looks pretty good to me as far as the steaming of broccoli is concerned. I'm just going to just take a piece and, well, it feels pretty, yeah, it's even over steamed a little bit. Yeah, these are feeling pretty mushy. So just 10 minutes was actually too much. Probably should have done like maybe 6 or 8. Yeah, you see how that just came apart there? So 10 minutes, I wouldn't recommend 8 to 10 minutes for even 2 pounds. It's steaming, you know, pretty quickly. So you might want to try maybe 6 and see what happens with your broccoli if you still want it to be crisp. So it can steam it up, and it steams it, you know, pretty quickly. Actually, with things already being hot in there, I should have shaved off some time from the start. I probably should have done about 6 minutes just knowing that it was already hot in there to begin with. So I guess that error is on me, but you get to see that it is able to steam things up pretty quick. Okay, so I can tell you so far in my use of this, after running it for maybe about 25 minutes, the water in the water chamber went down to about half. So it seems like about one chamber full of water probably is going to get you to about that 1 hour max run time. But now I'm going to do a test steaming some fish. This is swordfish, and I forget the size of this, but you can see how big it is, and it's pretty thick. So I've got some organic extra virgin olive oil on it and some Old Bay seasoning on it. And I'm going to just go ahead and put it right here, and I've got things in the kind of raised up position there this time. Alright, so I'm getting the lid on here. Things are pretty cooled down in there now, and I did kind of get things cleaned out between test cooks here. So I'm going to go ahead and get things turned on, and I'm going to check the fish option, and it looks like it's giving me 5 minutes for fish. So they say that they recommend to do like 12 minutes for fish, so I'm going to go up to 12. And so there we are at 12 minutes and hitting start. Well, actually, I forgot. With fish, it asks you for the weight of the fish, and it gives a time based on the weight. So I'm going to go back to fish again. I'm going to go back to 1, down to 1. Well, no, 3 is, I guess, the lowest you can get. But it's supposed to be like a number of pounds of fish. So I think 3 is as low as I can go. But I hit start, and it's going to give me 8 minutes for what it thinks is 3 pounds. But I'm going to go up to 12, because they recommended 12 for, well, I guess 11 is the highest I can go with fish. So let me hit start, and we'll just let that run. But it's pretty interesting with fish how initially it's asking you for like a size or weight, and then it interprets that into an amount of time that it gives you. So now I'm just going to let it cook. The highest I guess I can do is 11. We'll just let it cook for 11 minutes, and we'll see, temperature test it afterwards. Alright, so our time is up, and I don't know why it's like, oh, it went to warm. Yeah, after it finished, it went to warm. That's pretty interesting. Fish seems to just jump over to warm once it's done cooking. So, let me check the temperature here. It's at the 110, so yeah, it's too cool. So we need more time. So 12 was not enough. So put the lid back on. I'm going to go custom so that I don't have to deal with the back and forth of it trying to give me different numbers and such. So I'm going to go for 5 more minutes on custom and just see how that turns out. Alright, so we've done 17 minutes total now. So just stopping things from doing the warm thing there. Let that water drain inside. Alright, so now let's see, let's measure the temperature now after 17 minutes of steaming. Yeah, we're in the 140s, so we're perfect. I mean, it's a little over. Yeah, it's a little over, but I'll take that as perfect because I think that's as close to getting it at about 145 as I'm going to get. I know about carryover. I'm not a fan of that, but we see the fully cooked fish here. So about 17 minutes of steaming, super moist because it was steamed. Alright, so now I'm going to test steaming some oats. These are organic steel cut oats. And so just going to, also I've got some 2 teaspoons of organic cinnamon mixed in with these oats. So I'm just going to pour them into the pot like that. And they don't give guidance for oats, but it seems like for rice and other things, their guidance is to use less water than you normally would. But for these oats, 2 cups of oats, I'm going to use just 3 cups of water and see how things go. We'll see if that's too much or too little. But I think it'll work out okay because oats can get pretty thirsty. So pouring in my 3 cups of water. And I've got 4 tablespoons of butter here. So just putting that right in the middle, and I'll just let that distribute itself as the cook goes along. So just drop that in there like that. Alright, now with all that in, going to put the lid on. And for this, I'm going to get things turned on. Then I'm going to hit the grains, which defaults to 25. I'm going to up that to 35. And they say you should give a 5-minute rest after. So I'm going to let it go 35 and then a 5-minute rest. And we'll see what happens with that. So just hitting the start, we'll let that go ahead and cook. Alright, so time's up and it automatically kicks over into the warm. I'm going to give it that 5 minutes of, well, it's supposed to have like a covered rest. But I'm going to just let it go ahead and do 5 minutes on warm and we'll see what happens. Alright, so we've given it 5 minutes to rest after the 35 minutes of cooking, so that's about 40 minutes total there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the lid. Let's see what we've got here. Alright. I'm going to try and see how things move around. It looks like things generally are looking pretty good. I mean, the oats did soak in the water pretty well. And things are moving around pretty good. I mean, I feel like I could have even added another cup of water if I wanted. It would have been okay, but with what I added, they are done. I don't think they're like dry or, you know, like they needed to soak in anymore. The more I'm moving around now, I'm starting to feel like maybe 3 was perfect. 3 cups of water was perfect to start with, because now they seem to be they do seem to be very soft and moist as I move things around more. So I think we're good just doing it the way I did it for oats. Yeah, they're real soft, real fluffy. Moving around real good. So that's good. I think 3 cups will do fine for if you want to cook a couple cups of oats up, and the steamer will add in its own water by steaming. I'm going to get some out, and you can see here the final result. I'm going to try and carefully taste test a little bit. Yeah, they're done. I don't know, maybe I could have done 4 cups though. I do feel like maybe I could have put a little more water in and got away with it, now that I'm tasting them. So I think I would have done 4 cups and seen how that did. Or, you know, well no, I don't think that cooking them longer would have done it. But I think I would have done 4 cups of water. 3 cups is okay. But I think with oats, they're so thirsty, 2 cups of oats, 4 cups of water probably would have been fine. So that's just my take on things. But you see it's able to steam up your oats. Okay, so let's talk about cleaning the steamer. And I'll say that the regular everyday cleaning is very easy. I've been cleaning it between takes of cooks. Very easy. But the periodic cleaning that you have to do when you have to like do descaling is very complicated. So listen up for how you have to do all the different types of cleaning. For the regular cleaning, you basically unplug, you let it cool down fully, and then you take the steam pot and the steam tray, and the lid and the that rack and this pot, they're all dishwasher safe. So the lid, rack, pot, all dishwasher safe. Top rack dishwasher safe, by the way. But I've been doing it by hand. And you use a warm soapy dishcloth to clean things off, or wet one to wipe things down, then dry things off. Super easy. Nothing's been sticking at all. Don't use anything abrasive. They also mentioned don't use any bleach. And never put the base in water, and never put that in the dishwasher, of course. And they mention a way to clean the inner area under the pot if anything gets stuck on. I haven't had to do it, but they say that you can sprinkle some like baking soda. You can take a clean damp sponge, and you can take a teaspoon of baking soda, and you can wipe it carefully, and then you wipe it again with a clean one to, just kind of get it out that way. I haven't had that problem. Of course, remember the water release drain in the back if you need to store it. And they say that for that descaling that I told you about, that you need to do that basically after several months of use. And they say that you will fill the water chamber, well, the reservoir here, with half water, half white vinegar. And they say don't use cider and don't use wine vinegar. And basically you put the pot and the lid on, and then you press the descale button, hit start, and after that's done, then it cools down and you empty out all the fluids, and then you're supposed to rinse everything, including the water reservoir, several times to basically get all the vinegar stuff rinsed out. And then after that, you're supposed to fill the reservoir with cold water, and then you're supposed to put the pot and lid on, and then you do steam for 30 minutes, and that's to remove any residual vinegar from out of it. So you do a lot of work to make sure you get all the vinegar out of it. And so they also recommend that you descale after you steam seafood, which I didn't do, but I guess that might be for descaling to get rid of any residual like fish taste or something, but my oatmeal's doesn't taste like fish. So that's how you do the special descaling. So let's talk about the warranty. The steamer comes with a 3-year limited warranty. So that is pretty nice. A new steamer from Cuisinart with a 3-year warranty. Good deal there. Cuisinart still stepping up when it comes to the warranties. And so you saw that it can do basically everything. It was able to cook up the broccoli, and I should have cut the time there, but still it can cook up your vegetables very well steaming them. It can steam fish very well. I can tell you that fish, very moist, very good, turned out very well. Nice job on the fish. And with the oats, I mean, probably could have put another cup in, but still all the same, they turned out very well. You have to kind of feel out the balance between water and time for whatever you're trying to cook. But it's able to cook up everything that we gave it very well, and do a really, everything's really nice because it's steamed, so everything's really moist. Nothing's dry at all because you're getting a bunch of steam hitting it. And so it's a pretty good cooker, pretty innovative for, not coming with another air fryer or something like that. This steamer, different way of cooking, all glass, stainless steel, very good for your health. Good stuff. So good job there, Cuisinart. And so nothing in this video is sponsored, nothing given to me. And so you can always check out my blog, superwaveovenrecipes.com. Again, that's superwaveovenrecipes.com. There's like a buy me a coffee link there. Also in the video description, there's things like my cookbook, merch, membership, donations, link to the Amazon shop where you pay the same price, help the channel. Also buy me a coffee link there as well. And so with all of that said, if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up, share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe, hit that notification icon, and good eating.